Hey guys, so I'm back here in the Gordon Hirabashi campground. This is the same place where I shot the last video about the Grigris. And this is a popular destination for climbers. There are plenty of crags around here where this is the parking place, and then you walk a short little trail to get plenty of different walls to climb on, all single pitch, all really good. And it's not too far up Catalina Highway, maybe about 30 minutes from the base in Mount Lemmon to get up here if you're driving the speed limit, which pretty much no one around here seems to do, except for all the old people, but that's not important. Anyway, I'm doing this video just as sort of a baseline video to compare the Petzl Reverso and the Black Diamond ATC. These are both devices that I have extensive experience with, especially the Black Diamond ATC, which is probably my I guess my most used belay device that I have, just because it's I mostly do multi-pitch climbing, and so that's what I tend to bring up with me for belaying and doing any sort of rope work involving that. But there are just a few small differences. Bottom line, if you want to use, like, this video isn't going to be about saying which one I like more or which one is better, because they both work exactly the same and they both are about as good as they're gonna get. A lot of people say this is sort of like the holy grail of belay devices, and you can see why. They've been around forever, and that's because they were built and designed so well to begin with that you don't really need to improve them anymore. That being said, they have gone through a couple of different iterations, and Black Diamond just released a new ATC and an ATC Alpine guide that I'm going to get and review here at some point. But for now, I'm going to go with the older models, which that may be obsolete in the next 2 weeks or so. But let's see where we're at right here. Let's start by just talking about a little bit of the evolution of the devices. Here's my ATC, my Black Diamond one. Really, this hasn't changed actually in nearly all the years that it's been. They cut out this spot. I have an older one that has this filled in, but they just cut it out for a little bit more weight savings. The newer model has instead of a round hole, a more ovalized one, and then this hole right here is bigger or something like that. But overall, the past number of years, this really hasn't changed that much. So here we have the Petzl Reverso, and this actually has gone through a bunch of changes over the years. I happen to have this right here, and this is kind of a little bit of a prize in my collection, in that it's the oldest brand of the Reverso. This is the original Reverso, and it's in such good condition. I actually got this when I was working at a climbing gym, and folks came in with this device that clearly had never been used. And I traded them a pair of $5 shoes that we were selling for this thing, and so I just put $5 in the cash register and got this. So it's kind of a bit of a score for me. I've only used it once just to play with it, but it's kind of more annoying to use than this one. Clinks around, makes a lot of noise. But this is the original one. You can see a static point where I'm holding and a static clip-in point, but other than that, it loads and uses the exact same as a modern ATC. So that's just a little bit of a humble brag, I guess. Other than that, it's the same setup. This is the Reverso 4. I don't think they have a Reverso 5 or anything. I think this is the latest issue that they got. It does have a few differences. I think it's an ounce or so lighter than the Black Diamond ATC. It's quite unnoticeable, so it's not really too much of a big deal. But other major differences is you see how the hole right here, we'll say that's 90 degrees offset from the plate. This one is horizontal. So you can see how it has that 90-degree offset from each other. Does it make a big difference? No, they both work the same way, and it's just like a small thing. In some cases, dealing with your anchor, maybe better to have like in this case, for example, this one being vertical, and you feed it through, it's kind of a little bit nicer versus this being horizontal. Of course, when I offset them with a knot, then they both feed just the same, but if this was sideways, it may be a bit more annoying. But that's barely anything to worry about. It's just one of the major differences right there, is that the holes are offset. Another thing is, these holes right here, this one is bigger than this one. You can sort of see that if I hold them at the right angle. And that also kind of doesn't matter too much, but it can make a bit of a difference. And here, let me show you what I mean. Just throw these on here real fast. All right, so when you're trying to, or when you are in the situation of needing to lower a climber, and there are newer ways to do this now, which I may have made a video on. If not, then I'll be sure to. But the old way was threading a piece of material through that little hole and flipping the device so that way it goes from an auto locking or a brake, or what's the word nowadays? Either way, it goes from locked up to more or less just a top rope belay, and you can see how rope slides through. Now there are a bunch of steps you have to do in order to keep this whole system safe, but that's essentially what you do. And it sort of depends. A lot of times I'll use alpine draws or maybe my double length sling to just put through here and wrap it around, but it does depend on what material you're using. So here's a Dyneema sling. Here's a nylon. This is actually made by Blue Water. It's a nylon Dyneema mix, and so but it's roughly considered nylon. And you can see how there's obvious thickness differences with it. And no matter how hard I try, I can't fit this nylon sling into this black diamond hole, or at least it's very difficult to put in there. Yeah, it's a lot of work. Whereas the Dyneema sling, it just slips right in. So the hole is just slightly smaller. Yeah, it just slips in really easily like that on the black diamond ATC. The Petzl one, however, the Petzl one hole is slightly bigger, so the nylon sling fits in very nicely. And that is a big difference. Here, I'll even move this closer so it's easier to see what I'm talking about. See how it fits in that hole? Then you have the black diamond one. And that can be a nice difference as to what device you choose, depending on what materials you like to use. I often use these nylon slings for a number of things, and I'll often use the Dyneema slings for a number of things. Just if you have that variety in your slingage, then you may want to take that into account with what device you get for top roping and for different rescue systems. That's like a big difference that I've found with these two devices. And keep in mind, it will be harder when this is actually weighted, and you can't move them around as much as I am doing right here without any weight on the rope. But other than that, these pretty much are the staple of multi-pitch climbing at the moment. If you want to know more about how to load these and stuff, I have other videos on that, so you can feel free to watch those. I won't mind. And but I just really wanted to make this video, as long as I'm doing this series on belay devices, just comparing these two baseline devices, these, you know, mountains of the climbing world, because they've been around forever and they're not really going anywhere. ATCs are here to stay, and I just wanted to throw that video out there so that way I'm slowly comparing the two. Again, I'm not saying one is better than the other. I do prefer using this one, but that's really no reason. Once I wear out this, I'll probably go to this while I'm getting a new one. But that's just for the general sense on both of the ATCs. If you have any questions, you can always leave a comment or just contact me personally. If you have anything you want to add that helps comparing the two, then also feel free on that. I'd be happy to read about it. And then if you want to see any specific videos with any specific devices or any climbing things, then leave a comment about that and I'll try to do it.